When the sun rises over the Serengeti, it awakens images of endless bounty to life. Natural disasters. The migration of gigantic herds. Struggles for territory. The complete cycle of life. Elephants and lions. Leopards and many other large African inhabitants of the savannah live in the most famous national park in the world. The crossing of the Mara River is a vital question for them. This is because there are wet swamps and green vegetation on the other side, even in the dry season. Wide, endless land, Serengeti is what the Maasai call this steppe. 1.2 million Ganus cross this plain annually on their way to the green savannas in the north, the largest animal migration in the world, 3,000 kilometers in length. They are followed by many animals like this cheetah who hopes for a bounty of prey. 250,000 zebras also wander amidst the throng. The lion is waiting for single animals to separate from the herd. The common zebra has the broader stripes of all zebra species. This is how the animals recognize one another. The animals live in small family groups and are very loyal to one another. A missing zebra is sought for a long time by the others. Crocodiles wait for the procession of wild animals to arrive. However, in the other half of the year, the Gnu and zebra still graze in the Serengeti. They graze away the dry grass following the rainy season and, in this way, promote new growth. Only in August will the hundreds of thousands reach the Mara River, which flows westward from the highlands of Kenya. The Mara River flows through the Masai Mara Game Preserve to the border of Tanzania. There it passes through the north of the Serengeti and flows into Lake Victoria. It is full of water throughout the year. The first Gnu reach the river at the beginning of August. The animals smell the water and move purposefully and ever more quickly toward it. The caravan suddenly comes to a halt. The river is rimmed by a steeply sloped bank here. Thousands of Gnu and zebras push from behind. When the first Gnu tumbles down the steep bank, the next follow immediately. Finally, they jump into the water. The zebras also have no choice but to continue their journey swimming. The crocodiles have been waiting for this. The Gnu sense the danger. Many animals are injured or killed in the crush. Ludwig von Hörnel and Count Samuel Teleki were the first white men to explore East Africa. Starting from Kilimanjaro, which Teleki attempted to ascend without success in 1887, an expedition of several hundred men crossed the Serengeti region in the direction of Mount Kenya. The Austro-Hungarian researchers described their experiences in a travel report, which already contained photos. Parts of the expedition equipment and souvenirs can be viewed in the Weltmuseum in Vienna. For example, quivers with arrows. While Austria-Hungary was itself not a colonial power, wealthy aristocrats like Teleki were nonetheless among the conquerors of this fascinating continent. Encounters with the natives differed greatly and were sometimes quite martial. After 1 year, the expedition corps returned to the East African coast with 70 fewer men. The men were either killed in conflicts or died of illnesses. Many deserted in the face of great exertions. Teleki discovered the present-day Lake Turkana in 1887 and named it after his friend, Crown Prince Rudolf. This canoe has injured itself and can't get over the escarpment of the river. It is easy prey for the crocodiles. The leopard has struck at the edge of the animal migration and hidden its prey in a very unusual place. It has carried a killed gazelle up into a treetop. The sated crocodiles return to land to warm themselves in the sun. They actually live primarily from fish and sometimes also from birds or turtles. However, they can also take down large mammals with their impressive jaws, like during the Gnu migration. Crocodiles are archosaurs and close relatives of prehistoric land and flying reptiles. They look similar now to how they did 100 million years ago. They primarily hunt at night by lurking immobile or floating in the water like a log. Little is known about crocodiles living in the wild. Most of the information we have comes from hunted animals. Analyses of individual stomach contents have shown that one large prey animal per week is enough for the crocodile. Another group of migrating gnu arrive at the Mara River at the end of August. The animals jump into the murky water in close succession. The lucky ones reach the other bank uninjured. The crocodile takes its time. It can suddenly accelerate a great deal if necessary, using its long tail to propel itself. The lizards can also reach, on land, speeds of 40 kilometers per hour for short gallops. The leopard secures larger prey by dragging it up a tree. In this way, it can't be taken away by lions or hyenas. Predatory birds, like this black-shouldered kite, draw attention to the carrion. The milky eagle owl isn't interested in the deadly gnu. Its largest prey are guinea fowls. The leopard still isn't satisfied with the position of the gnu. With its strong teeth, it pulls the prey further and further up until it finally begins to eat. The Rüppell's vultures are already waiting for the remains. Not only bloodthirsty crocodiles live in the Mara River, there are also vegetarians. But when agitated, the hippopotami are also dangerous beasts. The giants can weigh up to 4 tons. They spend most of the day sleeping or bathing. Leopards sleep in trees. Although the hippopotami spend a lot of time in the water, they are poor swimmers. They either walk along the bottom of the body of water or simply drift. The water makes them light. The leopard has finished its lunch break and is off on the hunt again. Leopards prefer to stay near rivers. On the Mara River, they often observe the passage of the animals for hours. They can develop an impressive amount of patience when selecting the right prey. The leopard has a good view from the termite hill. The marabou stork is a carrion bird. It also looks forward to benefiting from the procession of the gnu. Many animals profit from the mass migration. The ground shakes when the herd is in movement. The thundering of the hooves can be heard for kilometers. Thomson gazelles follow the procession of the gnu at some distance. They move where the grass is shorter because enemies like leopards have a harder time sneaking up there. The delicate animals only weigh 25 kilos. The bucks are extremely territorial. They lay claim to any female that moves in their territory. The Thomson gazelles play an important role in the Serengeti because many predators feed on them, especially the cheetahs. The leopards are not only greatly endangered in Africa, they used to live everywhere on the Dark Continent and in large parts of Asia. However, today only around 12,500 animals live in the wild. The young animals have a silvery camouflage coat, which they lose after 3 months. The cheetah parents don't have the physical strength to defend them against the other big cats. In the ancient world, cheetahs were tamed and used as hunting companions. The southern ground hornbill, which is 1 meter long, earns respect. This pair drives away the Egyptian geese from their tree. The Sand River at the border between Tanzania and Kenya hardly has any water in it during the dry season. Here, there are shallow fords where the animals can cross the river. A brown, short-toed snake eagle observes the passage. A group of elephants is also on its way to the Sand River. While they otherwise like to stay in one place, the dry season forces them to migrate. In the process, real elephant paths are formed, which are used repeatedly over the years. The herds are led by an experienced matriarch of 40 or 50 years of age. A swarm of cattle egrets accompany the elephants. They catch the insects near the animals. In contrast to the Indian elephant, the African species has seldom been domesticated. The hunt for ivory has exterminated the animals in large parts of Africa. In the animal parks of East Africa, their numbers are increasing again. The pronounced social life of the elephants already fascinated the Africa researcher Teleki. Like the rhinoceroses, elephants were primarily coveted hunting trophies in his time, as this photo of the Hungarian count shows. The African elephant is more than 3 meters tall and weighs 5 tons. The tusks alone can weigh up to 100 kilos. With the origins of the high civilizations, they became a coveted raw material and were almost as precious as gold, which nearly meant the end of the pachyderms. The leopard perches itself in a tree again. The small neighbor doesn't like that at all. The vervet male is afraid of the big cat, but the leopard can't climb nearly as well as the primate. Will the leopard try to hunt it anyway? The loud chatter of the excited neighbors makes any kind of stealth impossible. The leopard looks for another tree. The saddle-billed stork is looking for frogs and insects in the river meadows. The procession of animals appears endless. Thousands of them are still crossing the Sand River. Birds like the southern ground hornbills catch the many insects sitting on the excrement of the animals. The crowned crane is the only one of these aquatic animals that can also survive in the dry savanna. The elephant family has also arrived at Sand River in the meantime. The bull takes a refreshing bath. The river meadow is a green oasis in the middle of the dry steppe. Particularly tasty grass appears to grow on the shore. Green pigeons and Cape longclaws live here. The column moves on in the direction of Masai Mara. This part of the Serengeti lies on the Kenyan side of the border. The grassland is the northernmost section of the animal trek, toward which the Gnu move, driven on by hunger and the herd. Roads accompany this section of the animal migration because it has become a main attraction for tourism in Africa. The leopard has grown accustomed to the clamor. A few cars and people next to the gigantic herd don't disturb it. However, the observers are sometimes a little too much for the migrating animals. An increasing number of tourist lodges are being set up in the preserves. And the herds of animals are even followed by air. Lake Nakuru lies at an elevation of 1,700 meters amidst volcanic mountains. The national park surrounding it is only half the size of Vienna. Nonetheless, it is home to a diversity of animals and plants unique in the world. From a distance, it looks as if the lake were covered with a blanket of red blossoms. But they are lesser flamingos. Up to 1 million of these birds have been counted here, in addition to cormorants, gulls, pelicans, and storks. The lake is only 4 meters deep and has no intake. The result is that it is increasingly silting up, is alkaline and very salty, with a very special ecological climate. Tilapia, which were introduced here to combat malaria mosquitoes, provide food for many of the birds, like this intermediate egret. The little grebe is a permanent guest. The squacco heron, on the other hand, will fly back to Europe in the spring. Pelicans thrive wherever there is enough fish. The wet meadows around the lake are settled by ibises and black-headed herons. Lake Nakuru is home to around 500 different bird species. The Maasai giraffe also lives around Lake Nakuru. The endangered white rhinoceros would already be extinct without the protection of the national park. Waterbucks can only withstand the heat when they can drink a lot, which is why this species of antelope stays close to bodies of water. When two giraffe bulls encounter one another, they often test their strength. The males otherwise live very solitary lives. Two secretary birds have built their nest in a tree in the savannah. The predatory birds take their name from their quill-like headdress. Very close by, Ruppell's vultures devour the remains of a zebra killed by a lion. The agitation of the birds has attracted the attention of a spotted hyena. An increasing number of scavengers are gathering around the zebra cadaver. The hierarchy is clearly structured. The birds must wait until the hyenas are sated. Then the great Nubian vultures will help themselves. The cheetah has no intention of sharing its prey with predatory birds. It grasps a Thompson gazelle by the throat and carries the fiercely struggling prey across the savannah to its family. Only when it has arrived does it tear out the animal's throat, and the cheetah family can then feed on the gazelle. The stamping and calls of the great animal trek can be heard from the distance. When the young animals are this size, they have already come through the worst. 3/4 of the offspring fall victim to hyenas and lions in the early months of their lives. The leopard doesn't stay with its family long. The young animals are sated and clean each other's coats, watched over by their mother. The male once again follows the calls of the gnu, following its hunting instinct. The end of the long procession nears the River Mara in September. The animals are exhausted and emaciated from the exertions of the last weeks. The crocodiles now have it especially easy. The lions are waiting on the other shore. The gnus sense that they are in danger, but the herd pushes on relentlessly. Like all hoof-toed animals, zebras can swim, but they only do this when absolutely necessary. They are unprotected in the water and can't hide in the herd. In their excitement, the zebras don't see the crocodile lurking underwater. The zebras do astonishingly well, but they suffer injuries. The crocodile doesn't have an easy time grabbing any of the panic-stricken animals. Fortunately, the group of zebras reaches the other bank. However, replenishment for the crocodiles soon follows. Fertile grassland awaits the gnu. The African buffalo can't store water and are therefore dependent upon fresh grass. They wander in herds through the savannah on the search for food. Older bulls separate themselves. They have no more authority in the herd. Birds such as oxpeckers or cattle egrets accompany the herd. Because it also follows domesticated cattle, the cattle egret native to Africa quickly spread throughout the world. It has not been possible, however, to domesticate the African buffalo, despite many attempts. The gigantic herds of Africa, which can contain up to 1,000 animals, fascinated the European colonial masters and inflamed their desire to hunt. The East African explorer Teleki was also impressed by the wild and aggressive buffalo. With old bulls, the span of the horns can exceed 1 meter, which is why their trophies are especially coveted. Even today, the buffalo are hunted and killed by big game hunters. However, the spread of agriculture is the greatest threat to these African steppe cattle. As a carrier of bovine tuberculosis, they are also a thorn in the side of farmers. Lions are also endangered by this disease. When they absorb the tuberculosis pathogen from the killed buffalo, this usually means their death. In the Mara National Park, the lions are still healthy and live to be 12 to 15 years old, like this male. This lion marks the territory of its pride with excrement and urine. The mating ritual can now begin. The male can detect whether she is ready to mate with an olfactory organ in its throat. It can get pretty rough in the process until the lioness gives in. The spotted hyena smells carrion. A group of hyenas has hunted and finally killed a gnu. The females always have the say in these so-called clans. New males are at the bottom of the hierarchy. After nearly 2 months, increasingly smaller troops of zebras and gnu arrive at the Mara River and try to reach the other bank. Several hippopotami observe the hectic passers-by in their territory with stoical calm. Animals that leave the group live dangerously. The zebra has lost the group and is now on its own. This time the crocodile attacks frontally and doesn't have to dodge hoof kicks. While the zebra fights for its life, the herd pushes further forward into the water. The individual animal counts for nothing in nature, only the survival of the species. The Rüppell's vulture suns itself on a dead tree. From its perch, it can see a lion taking a gnu apart. There will be enough left over for the vulture. A lion lives together with several females, but in contrast to all prejudices, it is not cared for by its harem, but also hunts itself. In any case, he is the first to claim his share. Everything is used in nature. When the pride of lions has eaten, the remains of the carcass are left for the vulture. 10,000 years ago, there were almost as many lions on Earth as humans. They were the second most common mammal. However, several lion species have been exterminated in the modern age. Half of the worldwide stock had disappeared by the end of the 20th century. The systematic eradication began in the colonial period. Will we soon only be able to see lions or stuffed specimens in collections? One thing is certain. Without nature preserves, they could no longer exist in this world. The colourful lilac-breasted roller is a savanna bird that only lives in Africa. Between 16,000 and 25,000 lions still live in Africa. With the protection of a nature preserve, the lionesses can live up to the age of 20. The male lions die younger, often due to injuries received in hierarchic encounters. The lions have hardly any natural enemies. However, even though they hunt single African buffalo, they have great respect for the power of a crazed herd which drives them to flight. On the Mara River, the feast of the crocodiles still hasn't come to an end. The canoe are dismembered in the water. The crocodile can't chew the meat, but instead swallows pieces whole. Crocodiles won't try their luck with fully grown hippopotami. The crocodile drags the rest of the prey to the shore. Only the tough parts are hidden and soaked over a longer period. The reptile goes on land to digest, while other crocodiles continue eating. The last large herd arrives at the Mara River at the beginning of October. It took 2 months for around 1 million gnu and zebras to pass through one of the most dangerous sections of their migration. Hundreds of animals didn't reach the safety of the other bank. The predators will be able to survive on them for some time. For several years now, the gigantic animal migration has been threatened by a new danger: bushfires. Because tourism is becoming an increasingly important source of income, the owners of the lodges set the savanna ablaze to allow fresh grass to sprout more quickly and attract animals. When the wind turns and drives the flames forward, this can result in gigantic bushfires. Such interventions into the ecosystem change the animal migrations in an incalculable manner. How long will this unique natural spectacle still be possible? Will humans completely rob these animals of their habitat? The procession of animals is the pulse of Africa, the cradle of humanity.